Nothing but junk mail and overdue bills to keep me company. Seems nobody wants to hire a real private dick anymore, a professional like me. A guy who does the detective work nobody else wants to do. A guy who wears hats and walks around in a black and white world. I began contemplating a more profitable line of work, like politics.
We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to you.
All right, folks, welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN 4th of July week, July 2nd. Hope everybody has some great plans for this upcoming long holiday weekend as we remember the original No Kings Day, by the way. Didn't that kill you? We had no kings from these jamokes. Yeah, that was almost 250 years ago, guys. We had the no kings. We kicked the king out. That was the whole premise of this country. But anyway, let's take care of housekeeping. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. You can join the conversation over the next hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Our text line is running at 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388, and that means it appears. So when you text us, it appears here in the studio in real time, just like when you text anyone else. And we try to work it in the conversation because not everybody can always text or rather call and participate. But you can at 508-871-7000. Today, behind the glass back at HQ Flying the Board, he'll get you set up and into the studio for two-way talk and conversation as a broadcast from the Cameo studio. So that also means the Cameo cam is on. So you can, of course, tune into AM 830. You can go to the TuneIn app, which is a fantastic feature to have on your device. And you can listen to the streaming of the station 24/7. That's right. Every day of the week, all 24 hours, the station streaming like thousands of other radio stations. So when you go to TuneIn, do me a favor, hit the WCRN, hit the like button. We know you're there. Then we're very easy to find. You can tell Alexa to play WCRN. She'll do that. No questions asked. Now you can watch and listen and participate on my Facebook account, my X account, my LinkedIn profile, and Rumble, as well as the station's Facebook page and YouTube channel. And so multiple ways to listen, multiple ways to watch. And the show is turned into a podcast, so you can subscribe to this show. And all we do is we take the commercials out, we shorten it a little bit, and then we post it. And you can get it on Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Podbean, Google Play, wherever you subscribe to your favorite podcasts. You can do that with the Joe Mangiacotti Show. All right, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Obviously, you heard in the headlines, we've got a couple things. The Kohlberger, all of a sudden, changes. He's going to accept the plea. Kind of out of left field for a lot of people, right? Because the mountain of evidence in this case is overwhelming. And so where'd this come from? Where'd the plea bargain come from? Why all of a sudden did this up? They accepted a plea deal. And it's going to, of course, spare him the death penalty in the slangs of those 4 University of Idaho students back in November of 22. And he's charged with 4 counts of murder, right? Ethan Chapin, Zana Kirtle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Conclaves. They had an off-campus apartment in that house in Idaho. And why he did it is the question. So maybe, I don't know. Do you know? What say you? 508-871-7000. I'm watching the news. I'm reading articles. I'm trying to get, it sounds like maybe prosecution put a deal on the table like a long time ago in the beginning of all this. And they were going forward. And defense was, trying all kinds, as defense is supposed to do, right? You try to suppress as much information as you can, get as much stuff as you can thrown out, get as many witnesses to contradict the prosecution, all of those things. And they weren't very successful in a lot of their motions. Okay, that happens. So did they all of a sudden decide that, I don't know, this isn't working? What happened? I don't know. But some of the family, they're not very happy with. Actually, they're kind of pissed because they really wanted the community, the peers, to find him guilty. And some of the family members, I know the sister of one of the victims, you know, this guy, he goes off to prison. He can still form relationships and have a life. The life's been taken away from their siblings, from daughters, and from son. And they don't think it's fair. So, and the other part of this, usually you have to articulate your crime, the allocution, right? You have to allocate the crime. You stand in the courtroom and you tell in detail what you did. And so the families in this plea bargain, they're apparently going to be left without a clear understanding as to the motivation and why this animal chose those 4 people, why they did this to them. Why are they the ones that were chosen, the unlucky ones in this situation? So the motivation as to why isn't going to be heard. How does that happen? And you need to say it, but you know, he has a constitutional right to remain silent, but usually that is negotiated in the plea, but it hasn't been done in this one. So what's the deal there? I don't know. If you know, I'd be happy to listen to you. 508-871-7000. And of course, the surprise twist in the P. Diddy situation. Not guilty on this the racketeering, most serious charges. Guilty on a couple of the charges, could still go to prison. But, and I don't know, I was watching the news, the live coverage of this morning. Maybe you know now, 508-871-7000, but it sounded, because the judge was actually joking with Sean Combs. So there's a pretty good chance the judge is actually going to let him out on bond, and you know, passport, surrender the passport, restrictions, all that kind of stuff, who he can communicate, where he can go. He still has the means, financial means, big time. He still has, I think, 2 yachts, right? I mean, he has the ability to flee out of jurisdiction. There's no question about that. And the seriousness of the crime versus your ability to flee is supposed to be a big part of bail and so forth. So let's see what happens. A couple twists in what was going on there. Might as well keep it in the, I guess, the legal realm here, because Trump, if you missed this, and you might have heard about it. I know I mentioned it on the show before, that Trump decided to sue CBS. And apparently, so this is a victory for Trump, because of settlement. And CBS did not want to go. These are things that companies like Paramount, CBS, NBC, remember, Stephanopoulos had to write a $15 million check fairly recently too. But Trump has this huge win over CBS. He secured a $30 million settlement. CBS and Paramount, parent company, Paramount Global. And it was all because of that very, very obvious and deeply deceptively edited 60-minute interview with Kamala Harris back in October. $30 million. The lawsuit filed in Texas accused CBS of election interference. How do you get anything but election interference? Because they were splicing the video from her interview, splicing it and having an answer she's giving or verbiage she's giving that was not the answer. I mean, they tried to produce a video that was not the true interview. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Let's jump to the phones real quick because Mark's waiting patiently. Hey, Mark, what say you?
P. Diddy Combs. He's a little bit before my era, actually, quite a bit before my era. But how can you fail to see who P. Diddy Combs was? For years, he was the darling of the left and Hollywood, and he was accolades and awards and this and that and all kinds of promos for these transnational corporations. They loved this guy. But you know what his big mistake was? he had the audacity to step off the Bodie plantation and start telling the truth about what was going down. And that happened to include saying nice things about Donald J. Trump. Well, when he crossed that line, he went from being Mr. Golden to being in the toilet almost overnight. Am I right or am I wrong in my assessment?
I think it's a very interesting assessment, Mark, because yes, to your point, the man has been around. Thank you, Mark. The man has been around for a long time, right? I think, I don't know if everybody realizes this guy's been kind of on the scene, and to Mark's point, part of the Hollywood inside elite since the 90s, and has built $1 billion empire, not just the music stuff that's gone on. Look, I said this before. I'd like to see with all due respect to Kamala Harris, the Venn diagram of the Epstein files and Epstein client list and Epstein black book versus the Diddy freakout parties, or freak off, I guess is what they call them, and see what the overlap is there as far as the people who were at both places. Look, I'm amazed that this guy was able to go as long as he did, and obviously the reason that he was able to do this is because we're looking at payoffs. I mean, the ex-girlfriend got what, a $20 million settlement when she brought suit to him. So if you've got $1 billion in these freak-off parties were being sponsored, right, by radio labels and companies and so forth, and somebody gets a little too, hey, I don't like this, I don't don't like what's going on, here's a few $1 million, move on, sign an NDA. So I'm surprised that he was able to keep the wraps on this, even though he has dealt with multiple civil suits along that line.
Am I still on the air?
Yeah, you are. What's up?
What's up is that, did it ever occur to you that this guy had dirt on VIPs, very important people? I'm talking about P. Diddy Combs, and he almost kind of got like right now an under the table plea deal.
You got it. We're against the clock, Mark. Thank you for the call. Absolutely. Again, I think that a lot of people are panicking about too much information coming out to what he knows. Again, Venn diagram, Epstein, so forth. Back in 2 and 10, folks. We're going to take our first break.
Go on! Oh, that's unbelievable! Hi, folks. This is Mike Stacey, head professional at Norton Country Club, welcoming you to the start of the 2025 golf season. Norton Country Club is a championship 18-hole golf course located just minutes off of 485. The course came through the winter grid, and we're open for daily fee, as well as having membership opportunities and outings available. Our clubhouse is a great venue for your wedding or group gathering needs. If you're interested, call 508-285-2400, extension 1 for events, or 103 for golf, as well as nortoncountryclub.com. Hope to see you out there.
WCRN, where the left and the right meet in the middle. Whether you lean left, lean right, or just want to stay informed, WCRN has you covered with diverse voices, lively debates, and thought-provoking discussions. You'll hear it all right here. Radio Central.
Tired of rush doctor's visits? Are you finding it tough to get a doctor's appointment? And when you finally do, are you in and out before you know it? Did your doctor take the time to ask about your diet or exercise routine? Did they order the right lab tests? And how do you know if these are the labs you need and how to interpret them? Discover the freedom of ordering your own lab tests. Phil George, clinical biochemist and health coach, can guide you on which blood tests to order. Customized to your personal health goals, Phil's extensive training ensures that you receive the best advice on interpreting your lab results and understanding their implications. Plus, by ordering labs on your own, you'll pay far below insurance prices. Looking for an alternative to conventional medicine? Phil George can help you navigate your health journey with a personalized approach. Just email Phil at philgeorge@charter.net for a free consultation. Your health and well-being are within reach, and it starts with the right guidance. Don't miss this opportunity to take control of your health. Reach out today and embark on a path to better health with Phil George.
More live and local radio is next. Stay tuned to Radio Central, 830 WCRN.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second segment here in the Wednesday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN, 4th of July week. I know a lot of people probably are off today and big plans for this weekend. Take a moment to remember what it is that we are celebrating. The original No King's Day, by the way. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. Text line 617-297-8388. And don't forget, I am streaming from the Cameo studios and the Cameo Cam's on, so you can go to Facebook, X, YouTube for the station, LinkedIn profile, or just simply go to Rumble. And we are streaming live on all of those platforms. So very, very easy to watch and listen as well. Just want to finish up on this. So Trump secured this $30 million settlement, right, with Paramount and CBS. CBS aired two versions of Harris's 60-minute interview. One on Face the Nation and one on Primetime, with different answers to the same question about Israel. Now, the raw footage showed Harris rambling on, right? The word salad, incoherent. What the hell are you talking about type of thing. But CBS cleaned it up to make her sound a little more polished. Now, some might say, so she sounded polished. No, somewhat polished. No matter how much editing you do, could you get her to sound polished? It ain't going to happen. So Red State blog site did a good article on this. And it was spotted in the editing. And it was somebody from Red State who said, wait a minute, experienced editor can see. And anybody who does any time, even audio, right? 40 years of doing audio and production, you can pick up splices and different tempo and just different levels, and so editors are saying, man, this thing's chopped. Just like when you were watching the Joe Biden posts during the campaign, and you're like, how many takes or how many splices do they get this together to get an 18-second clip of him? But anyway, so this editor said this is really edited, exposing how CBS tried to hide Harris's word salad in the weakness that was there. And it wasn't just editing for time, by the way. It was a cover-up, folks, right? And that was the initial response CBS had, right? Oh, well, we edit everything for time. And when you edit for time, you cut it off at a certain point, or you take some sections out. You do not put an entirely different segment, video segment, and splice it into immediately following a question to make it look as though that is production. That's not editing. And that is absolutely campaign interference. But we're going back to that Trump derangement syndrome mentality that Orange Man is so bad, everything is okay. Everything to stop him, everything to not point out Biden's, or in this case now Harris's, deficiencies, anything that could possibly help Donald Trump must be buried, must happen. And we can do whatever it takes. We're back to if you could go back in time, would you kill Hitler as a baby? Right? And this is what this is coming back to. He's Hitler, he's a fascist, he's a racist, which none of it is true, but this is where they're coming from. So CBS is paying $16 million right up front, with another 8-figure payment coming, totaling over $30 million for this campaign interference. Now, and this is, I like this part of it, that part of this is going to fund Trump's future presidential library. I mean, Barack Obama's library is still a construction site, right? I don't know what the heck, tongue-in-cheek, people were joking. Why don't you get the Trump organization to build it? I'm not joking. I bet you that the Trump organization would build Obama's library on budget and on time if you turn the project over to them. So part of this fund from CBS is going to fund the presidential library. The rest goes to conservative causes. on CBS's own airwaves. And here's the kicker. CBS must now follow the Trump rule, requiring full unedited transcripts of all presidential candidate interviews to be released. No more hiding the truth to prop up failing candidates like Harris. That's part of this agreement, this settlement. It's the Trump rule. And I know, I talked to a lot of politicians over the years, ran campaigns, ran myself. And back when I ran, this wasn't really the case. The internet was still in its baby's crib at that time. But anybody these days that goes to a studio, any candidate or politician, their people, their handlers, their staff, their aides, whatever you want to call the people they're surrounded with, always bring their own equipment. And they put it on the tripod or put it on the holder, whatever the case is, and they just hit record. So they have not the same production level, just in the corner, filming what's going on, so that the campaign itself, the candidate or the politician themselves, has a digital record of how that interview went and what the questions were, what their answers were, how much time. So now, when you see the production or the produced version of this interview released on air, you have a record as to be able to say, how did they edit it? How bad did they edit this to make me look bad? So now part of this deal, guys, is that the Trump rule, which was created because of this, unedited transcripts. So you got to transcribe everything, and you can't edit it out, the ha's and the ums and the talking about school buses or whatever. Has to be unedited transcript for all presidential candidate interviews must be released. And Paramount tried to save face, saying there's no apology, but let's be honest, this is a total embarrassment for the network. And this isn't about Trump. It's about stopping these liberal media outlets, these propagandists, from manipulating what you see and hear. You can no longer hide behind the title, the banner of news, and then be this partisan and this deceitful. That is why mainstream media, the traditional media, has lost credibility. And look at the polls. Every once in a while, we come out with the polls. The traditional media is so out of place because this White House has opened the press room at the White House to, they don't consider them journalists. But what is a journalist? Are you a journalist because of who signs your paycheck? Are you a journalist because of the organization you work for? Or are you a journalist because of the work that you do? And now, just like when cable came into our homes in the 70s, it kind of put all of the TV stations on the same playing field, right? Because here in the Boston market, when I was a kid, right, you had the UFH channels and the VHF channels, and depending where you lived and what your rabbit ears looked like and where you lived in the neighborhood, were you higher up or lower down, you might get, channel 38, but not 56 or vice versa. Then cable comes in and all channels, you get them the same way. Well, the internet has now put everybody also on the same playing field, level playing field. So they're so pissed that these alternative journalists, in their opinion, but then look at the Matt Taibbi's and Andy Nons and these journalists that are out there just plugging away. And like Andy Nog, who's been hospitalized, and he's Asian and gay. I mean, he's a double minority, but they don't like the fact that he was a good he is, I shouldn't say was, right? He is a good journalist. They've kicked the crap out of him because he's out there doing real old-fashioned journalism. So it's about stopping the liberal media from manipulating what you see and what you hear. CBS got caught red-handed trying to make Kamala look competent, and they're paying some hefty price on this. And it's a warning shot to every newsroom, folks. Mess with the truth. And in this case, Trump's coming for me, but I hope all politicians take a page from this book, right? He already won the $15 million from ABC. And don't forget, he also won $25 million from Meta. So you got Meta for 25, ABC for 15, CBS for 30. Who's next? Here's an idea, folks. Do your job right. If you want to be an activist, great, be an activist. Quit that job and go to work for the DNC. Start a institute, a think tank, consulting. Start a PR firm. Do that, but don't lie to us and say that you're a news organization or that you're a journalist and you have an agenda and you're abusing that power, that position, that respect that title used to have at one point for your agenda. And the way to do it is like Trump has done in business for 50 years. He's hitting these people in their pocket. 25, 15, 30. So it means that your voice does matter. And the media just can't lie to you and get away with it anymore. So beware of what's being on there, because not everybody's going to have that ability that Trump has. Now, Trump's got CBS running scared, paying millions, rewriting their rules. I guess this is what winning looks like, folks. And I think there's probably going to be more to come on that. But just to bring up on the date, that's the CBS. That's because that was so atrocious what they did with that video. And that's why politicians protect themselves. But folks, we're coming up to the mid-show break here on the Wednesday edition on July 2nd. Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN. Don't forget, you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. And our text line, 617-297-8388. And don't forget, I am streaming on Facebook, both the station and the show, Joe Mangi Show, Mangi. So watch Facebook, watch X. You can also watch the LinkedIn profile or just go over to Rumble, the Joe Mangiacotti Show Rumble. We'll be back in 2 and 10, folks. Stick with us.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm meteorologist Vicki Graff, and here's your latest Boston 25 weather on Radio 830 WCRN. After another cloudy, warm, and muggy day, we are going to cool off into the 60s overnight tonight. Thursday will feature a lot of sunshine. It's hot and humid, though, nearing 90 degrees with isolated storms in the afternoon that could pack a punch. Once that clears, it's looking fantastic for the 4th. We're back into the mid-80s, lower humidity, and also staying bright through the weekend. I'm Vicki Graff, and you can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
More live and local radio is next. Stay tuned to Radio Central 830 WCRN.
Looking for a fuel and food stop that truly stands out? Experience the Yatco difference. At Yatco, we're dedicated to bringing you the best customer service, the highest quality products, and a commitment to making your life on the go easier. Yatco has 15 convenient locations across central Massachusetts, and now our newest spot at 75 Quonsigamut Ave in Worcester. Yatco, where every stop keeps you going.
Supplements are a tricky business. Some are made in China and other countries with poor quality control. Many supplements contain fillers and dyes that may actually harm you. Many ingredients are not bioavailable and can't be used efficiently by your body. Let Phil George, the biochemist from Wellness Wave Radio, help you navigate these minefields. Just contact Phil at philgeorge@charter.net for a free consult.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the Wednesday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here at AM 830 WCRN, reminding you could join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000, or text in. There's a screen here in the studio. It appears in real time at 617-297-8388 if you'd like to text into the show. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Ken's been waiting patiently. Hey, Ken, what say you?
Hello, Joe. I have an idea on this CBS amounts. I think $15 million.
Well, $15 million up front, and then another 8 figures. So it's going to come out to 15 plus. So over 30 million when they pay it all up, and a big chunk is going to go to the Trump library, presidential library, when he leaves office after his 3rd or 4th term. And the rest of it actually goes to conservative programming that CBS has to air.
Well, on that front, I've got an idea that Trump should dedicate $1 million of that dollars to any matching donations to Tunnels to Towers. So literally run Tunnels to Towers ads on CBS, and with Trump saying, I will match up to $1 million donated to Tunnels to Towers.
Yeah, but is Tunnels to Towers considered a conservative organization, or is it just a veteran? Which many, I know what you're going to say. I get it, because it seems like a lot of people on the left are not big fans, A, of the flag, B, of the country, C, of the veterans, B, of the police, right? Keep going.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a wonderful charity, and it gets a lot of kudos from working class people.
I think that Trump should use some of that money to put my show on CBS. But that's, I have maybe some selfish motivation there.
Yeah.
Replace The View. How about if we get five conservative people to replace The View?
Well, have you heard of the new show, Her Take?
No.
It's only been around a couple of weeks now.
Where is it?
Do you remember Her Take? And the host is Jillian Michaels. You remember her from all the lose weight thing? She hosts it, and she's got the left, the center, the right. It's spectacular.
But where's the platform? Where's it airing?
Just go on to YouTube.
Oh, it's a YouTube channel. Okay.
Yep.
Good.
Yep. Just in the last couple of weeks.
Her Take.
Her Take. Yep.
All right,
and you watch that, and you're like, what in the world is The View still around for? These ladies are so much better.
Well, not only are they so biased on The View, and I just don't know why we keep giving them air to breathe, right? I mean, and let's face it, they provide so much fodder for like Gutfeld show and stuff, but they're so ignorant in the stuff that they say. Remember where they were talking about, oh, Joe Biden should be Surgeon General, thinking she's an MD, not a PhD in education, where they're talking about disappearing citizens. It's just like you don't even know what you're talking about. You're out there. My father used to say, talking ragtime. I don't know if we still use that, but when someone was out there making a fool of themselves and talking gibberish and not making no sense because they have no idea what they're talking about, my father said, it's just talking ragtime. Well, The View is basically a ragtime show.
It's rather pathetic.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to cross over to handicapping the vote, which should come within 24 hours in the House, to once and for all make the BDD law. Because I'm looking at these names, and my conclusion is the option of coming up with revisions and then sending that back to the Senate, I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
I have a baker's dozen of people who apparently could be on the outs as far as Republicans voting no. And then obviously the person at the top of that list is Tom Massey. But if you'd asked me a week ago, I would have said, 99% certain he's not voting for it. But he's been taking a lot of heat the past week. And that nearly 1% chance is at least 5, I think, now. I wouldn't be stunned if it got to the point, let's say he may let's say there's one Democrat for whatever reason isn't able to vote, which gives them leeway. I wouldn't be surprised if Massey just votes present, just enough to give it a one vote difference. The others on my list, most likely to vote against, would be Marlon Stutzman, Indiana, and Andy Harris, Maryland, who heads the Freedom Caucus. But the key vote is Chip Roy. I think if Chip Roy announces sometime this afternoon that he's on it, that's going to tip the scales that they're going to find a way of making it happen, because he'll bring another 4 or 5 along with him. Another avenue that this may go is all of the right of center people, which include Corey Mills, Tim Burchett, Ralph Norman, Andy Ogles. And interestingly, Warren Davis voted against the first time they voted, and the latest I've heard, he's going to flip and he's going to vote for it this time. But the ones that are left, or furthest to the left, fortunately, remember they made a big deal about the New York Congress contingent related to the SALT deductions?
Yeah.
Well, there's only one of those 4 or 5 that were talking about it a few weeks ago who's even considering voting no, and that's Nick LaLota. The others are David Valadao. He's probably the furthest to the left of all of Republicans. California. Tony Gonzalez, Texas, and Brian Fitzpatrick, Pennsylvania. That's my complete list, so it's on record. I would be surprised if someone outside of the list of 13 I gave votes against it. And so a possibility would be, say, 3 or 4 of the ones furthest to the left vote against it, and all the other Republicans vote for it, and they just barely eke it out by 1.
Yeah, look, the difference is also so just to shift here for a second, because the Senate version goes back to the House. I still don't understand, of course, the Democrats who did not want to remove 1.4 million illegals from benefits. What
they don't want to remove anybody. That's what their whole game is to make the government bigger, more dependency.
I get that, and see, that's the thing, folks, is right that the Republicans have to sometimes accept stuff that to get the stuff they want through, right? The military, the border, this and that. They've got to accept some of this other stuff, which brings us back to, should everything be done individually? Putting this 3XB, I call it, right? Big, beautiful bill. There's so much in this one bill, and I understand what Trump is trying to do, get everything done real, because he's against the clock, right? Last term, he's got to make sure, not only does he have to get things done, but the whole world has to be straightened out by midterms, meaning our economy has to be booming. Taxes have to be, relief in the tax front. Gas has to be down. Energy has to be down. Imports have got to be, limited. Exports have got to be up, right? There's got to be, he's got to not only get the stuff done, but by the time the midterms come, everything needs to be really good. Like he's got to, so he has no time. And that's why you're seeing this guy, he is moving at lightning speed. I've said it before. I think you and I have talked about this, Ken. I look at in the big picture of it, and even though the 4 miserable years we suffered through the Biden administration, or whoever was that administration, maybe having Trump take a break and come back for the second term in the bigger picture, in the long term, actually turns out better for us. Because he's here now. Now he's here, right? He would have been gone in January, and we don't know who would have picked it up if he had won a second term right after. Plus, he had that 4 years. He had 4 years after he learned. He went to Washington beyond a neophyte. I mean, this guy never held an elected office, never ran for anything before. He goes to the most powerful office in the world from business, and he just assumed that when he got elected, everybody was okay. That's his agenda. He got elected. He didn't realize that everybody in the State Department had an attitude that we've been here longer than you. We'll be here after you. We don't care what your foreign policy is. We're going to keep doing the way, things we do, the way we do it. And that these senators from the states were giving him, hacks to fill as, say, U.S. attorneys and things of that nature. Now he knows better. And he's had 4 years. And like he has said a couple times, I'm sure you've seen it, Ken, is I know who the smart people are. I know who the idiots are now. And he wasn't going to get taken the second term. And he had those 4 years to think about what he needed to do, what needed to be done for the country. And he came in hitting the ground running. And that's why we're seeing what's going. A matter of fact, I was going to bring up, did you even catch? I mean, this guy's solving decades-old conflicts and wars in between lunch and breakfast on a regular basis. He just settled this tariff deal with Vietnam. Did you hear anything about that?
Yeah, but I've just seen the headline. I haven't read about it, but check off another box.
Yeah, it's just crazy. I'm going to get into this a little bit because it's a pretty good, another achievement. I mean, last week Thursday, he settled Rwanda and the other thing, 30 years they were fighting. He got a treaty there. I mean, if this guy does not get the Nobel Peace Prize, Ken, what the hell is going on? And he should have got it in the first term for the first, and I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on the Middle Eastern deal there, right? The Abraham's Accord.
Abraham.
Right? So it's crazy. All right, we're coming up against the clock. Final thought?
My prediction is Senate bill will pass in the House between 2 and 5 in the morning. I will be at my town hall re-registering as soon as it opens tomorrow morning.
Oh, that's right, as a Republican.
You got it.
All right, man. Thanks for the call, Ken. Always appreciate it. Always a good call. All right, folks, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation, which you can do between now and the end of the hour. I am Joe Mangiacotti. This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Weekday afternoons at 1 o'clock, we do come your way. Not only can you tune into AM 830 WCRN or stream us on the TuneIn app, don't forget that I do stream on my social media platforms at Joe Mangi, M-A-N-G-I, Joe Mangi Show. So you can go to Facebook, X, LinkedIn profile, and Rumble. That's right. We have a channel on Rumble and also on WCRN's Facebook page and YouTube channel. We stream there as well as our other hosts of the station. So you can watch the Carr Brothers, Freedom Radio. We're building up people who are going to do more and more content on that. And my show does get turned into a podcast, so you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. So do that as well. We're going to take a third and final break. Come back for the fourth and final segment in 2 in 10, folks. Stick with us.
Fuller Park is the place to play. Best ballpark in AAA.
And the Woo Sox come back. They walk it off.
With a bumper crop of red-hot Red Sox prospects on the way, don't miss a moment. Get your tickets today.
In the air to deep left center field. Back into the gap. This ball is gone.
Visit WooSox.com or call 508-500-8888 to see the Woo Sox play in April and May.
Life is full of changes. Some we choose, some we don't. But how we handle change, that makes all the difference. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and I'm bringing you Handling Change, a brand new show here on WCRN. Every week, we'll tackle life's biggest challenges and profile a local business or service that can help you navigate them. From career shifts to health, finances, and family. Whatever life throws your way, we've got you covered. Don't miss Handling Change. Thursdays at 10 a.m. on Radio Central WCRN 830 a.m., where New England comes to talk.
If you're as passionate about healthy eating as I am, you'll love New Kitchen. New Kitchen is a culinary gem for health-conscious food enthusiasts. They are committed to using the freshest ingredients from start to finish. Their ethically sourced organic coffee not only satisfies your taste buds, but also supports sustainability. Because New Kitchen uses fresh, local produce, there is nature's goodness in every bite. New Kitchen's refreshing cold-pressed juices, smoothies, and acai bowls are packed with vitamins and nutrients to keep you at your best. These aren't just drinks, they're a rejuvenating experience. Find New Kitchen at 3 convenient locations in Worcester, Somerville, and Newburyport. Visit their website at thenewkitchen.com to explore their menu and place your order online. That's spelled N-U, not N-E-W. New Kitchen, where the passion for health meets the art of cuisine. Eat clean, drink naked.
All right, folks, welcome back to the fourth and final segment here on the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN as we move into the 4th of July weekend. Happy 4th to you. We celebrate the original and really, quite frankly, the only No King's Day. For those chumps that got wrapped up in that stupidity, yeah, we did this 249 years ago, guys. We got rid of the king. We got rid of the tyranny. There are no more kings in the United States, Jamokes. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Lines are open and available. And, of course, our text line at 617-297-8388. So I made reference while I was talking to Ken about this because, you know, Trump came in. And let's be clear, right? Kramer and all of those, you know, again, activists that pretend to be media and even financial experts and these economists. We were going to have a recession and inflation was going to go crazy. Nobody seemed to understand what Trump was doing. All you have to do, man, if you didn't read his books, you go watch some of the old episodes of Apprentice. You see, he is what he is. He's not one guy on TV and a different guy in life. You get how he thinks and how he processes information. Just watch him. And so he had this 90-day, you know, okay, I'll come in with these tariffs and everything. 90 days, he'll pull it back. Well, today, July 2nd, Trump announced a trade deal with Vietnam. Before the July 9th deadline, because of that 90-day tariff pause he put on. And this means that Vietnam, or Vietnamese goods, I should say, imported to the U.S. will face a reduced 20% tariff. Now, that's down from the threatened 46% reciprocal tariff, with a 40% tariff on transshipped goods. What the hell does that mean, Joe? Well, that means, because what was going on, right? Chinese goods rerouted through Vietnam to evade U.S. tariffs. They're trying to do one true shuffle there. So China, well, we're going to go to Vietnam. We're going to actually send them over to you. You're going to ship them off to America. We're not going to get the Chinese tariff. We'll put it on the Vietnamese. Nope. Duh. How bad do you think our intelligence is? Of course we know what you're doing. So that is not going to work. Now, in return, Vietnam agreed to eliminate all tariffs on U.S. goods, granting us total access to its markets and to strengthen rules against, again, those transshipments. So they can't play a robo-do on that and work that out. So the deal follows April 2nd's Liberation Day on the reciprocal tariffs. And Vietnam initially faced 46%. Now, due for the tariffs there, it works out to like $123.5 billion trade surplus with the U.S. And Vietnam's economy heavily relies on the exports to us. It accounts for 30% of its GDP. That's a lot, folks. Now, the U.S. is aiming to address concerns over Vietnam's role in transshipping Chinese goods to evade these tariffs. Peter Navarro, he's on top of this. He's going to take care of it. So now Vietnam said, hey, we're going to reduce 0%, including cars, LNG, ethanol, agriculture products like chicken, almonds, apples, 0%. So good news, folks. Good news on that front. Join the conversation for the remainder of the hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Also, if you missed it in the news, because there's a lot, right? A lot comes at us. USAID is done. USAID shut down. CNN's freaking out over this, right? But President Trump has officially pulled the plug on the U.S. Agency for International Development. Again, I reminded you when we were going through this, when it first hit it, it's not USAID. It's an acronym, right, for Agency for International Development. 64-year-old agency. It has been funneling billions of your tax dollars overseas. And you heard some of the ridiculous things that we were funding, right? Gay comic books and transgender surgery in Guatemala and whatever. And the announcement came straight from the top, Trump's team calling it restructuring to align with Americans' first priorities. No more blank checks for foreign aid, because we're going to fix things at home first, folks. In this move, part of Trump's broader push to slash bloated bureaucracy, and it's got conservatives cheering because it's putting citizens first finally. So how or why USAID got the axe? Well, spending $50 billion a year, yeah, billion with a B, on projects like, schools in Africa and climate initiatives abroad. Well, towns like yours, whether it's Worcester or Framingham, wherever, deal with crumbling infrastructures. Now, some of the critics, like Russ Vogt, right, Trump's budgets are, said USAID was just a swampy mess, funding left-leaning NGOs, pushing agendas like DEI and climate policies that don't align with Middle America's values, which is another way of saying the 80-20 issues, some of them 90-10 issues. And it's just, we clearly voted for the Trump agenda. Donald Trump has never wavered for what he stands for and what he ran on. And he's delivering on everything that he ran on. There's no bait and switch with this guy. And $50 billion is far better spent on securing our borders, rebuilding our manufacturing, rebuilding infrastructure. CNN is having a complete meltdown over this. I don't know if you watched any. I feel like I bite the bullet and often watch CNN, so you don't have to. But I need to know what's going on over there. And they're losing their minds, folks. They're calling this the end of American global leadership. Like anything else, if America's leadership is based on how much cash we deal out to you, isn't that like having the guy who hangs around with you because you always pick up the tab? You always pay for the movies. You grab the check at dinner. You pay for their hotels on vacations. Are they really, is that leadership or is that just, they're mooching? So their talking heads are spinning this as Trump abandoning our allies. Let's be real. They're mad that their pet projects are getting defunded. Really? And CNN also is ignoring how USAID's been criticized for years for the waste and inefficiency there. Remember those $10 million gender study programs in Pakistan? That was your tax money. All tax money is your money. The government doesn't have any of its own. Now, if we connect some dots here, right? Connect the dots to Trump's trade game. Trump sealed that deal with Vietnam, 20% tariffs on their goods, down from the 46, zero tariffs on the U.S. imports like cars, chicken, almonds, all that agriculture. Shutting down USAID sends a signal. No more handouts. The cash cow isn't there anymore. Countries like Vietnam want access to our markets. Our markets are so important to them, 30% of their GDP. Our markets, we are the best market to tap it. We're not as big as, say, China, population-wise, but we have more money. We spend it. I mean, that's a whole nother issue, right? That's another conversation we need to have, is the fact that we as a society are a consumption society, and we spend, we don't save like we should. But the result of that is a lot of cash flow. A lot of money moving around. So shutting down USAID, hey, no more handouts. And this is straight out of Trump's America First playbook in action, right? Trade deals over foreign aid, putting leverage back into our hands. And it is better for these countries to get themselves economically sound on a better economic foundation with trade than handouts. Because just like when you're in a sugar daddy or sugar mama situation, you might think you have the power here, but remember who can shut the spigot off at any time. So I would rather see these countries, whether it's Vietnam or Middle East countries, or South American countries, improve their economy. It will accomplish a few other things. Trade between nations, let everybody make some money. Every country, most every country, is going to have some kind of natural resource or product or skill or something they can provide and export. They can do it better, easier than maybe we can. This creates trade. This creates money flowing around the globe. And if these countries aren't relying on handouts, and let's face it, majority of these handouts, foreign aid, if you will, right? How often does it actually get to the people or get to the post? How do you end up with these dictators and third world country presidents that have hundreds of millions or billions of dollars in palaces and so forth? So the money doesn't get there. We know that the corruption, so that American tax dollars ends up in private pockets. But if we can open these trade agreements and get this money flowing around the world, and the standard of living can rise a little bit in these countries, and they can develop a middle class, then they may want to stay in their own country too, instead of trying to dump everybody in the United States, which will pull us down, because we cannot have the open borders and welfare and safety net programs. And if they are brought up to our level, or at least somewhat to our level, then they can have a middle class. They can achieve in their own countries what we achieve in our country if you want to work hard and be a little smart about it. So the USAID shutdown in deals like Vietnam's, it shows that Trump is serious about bringing money and jobs back to the United States. But this wraps up the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN, folks. Thank you for joining me. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Back tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock. And don't forget, you can always watch this on Rumble, my Facebook page, and the show is a podcast. Subscribe wherever you get podcasts. Joe out.